Machiavelli mapped 7 gifts that turn a free man into a servant without him ever noticing. Most people assume the danger sits inside the object, but the object was never the trap. The trap was the 2 words you said back the moment you took it. Thank you. Once those words leave your mouth, something already changed, and nobody ever hands it back. A watch, a loan, a favor, a title. The bigger the gesture, the more grateful you are supposed to feel. That belief is almost universal, and it is exactly the belief a manipulator needs you to keep, because a gift was never measured by what it costs the giver. It is measured by what it changes in you the moment you accept it. Every scene in The Wolf of Wall Street where Jordan Belfort throws money and gifts at his employees works for the same reason. Loyalty bought that easily was never built to survive the first raid. Machiavelli spent his life studying men who rose and fell by exactly this mistake. Nothing consumes itself so much as generosity, he wrote, watching rulers bankrupt themselves trying to buy loyalty instead of earning it. The same math applies to ordinary men. There are 7 gifts built on that same broken math, and you have already been handed at least one of them. The first is the debt with no number. Someone covers you, bails you out, or fixes something you couldn't fix. Then says the words meant to relax you. Don't worry about it. You don't owe me anything. Those words feel like relief. They are the opposite. Machiavelli noticed that gratitude is forgotten the moment it's inconvenient, and a patient manipulator knows this better than you do. He cannot count on your gratitude lasting, so he builds something sturdier than a feeling. He builds a debt with no number, one that can be called in for a ride at 3 in the morning, a lie told on his behalf, or a vote of loyalty in a room full of people watching how you react. Refuse, and you'll hear the sentence that finally makes the trap visible. After everything I've done for you. Notice he can say that without ever naming what you supposedly owe, because the debt was never meant to have a ceiling. The moment somebody insists you owe them nothing, ask them plainly what they'd consider fair repayment. A person with clean intentions will actually answer you. A person building leverage will act wounded that you asked. The second gift arrives in front of someone else. A boss praises you and hands you the good account while your coworker watches. A father buys you the car he never bought your brother. Someone tells you, in front of a friend, that you're the only one who really understands them. This isn't generosity, it's positioning. A ruler who wants total control doesn't need to fight every man in the room. He only needs to make them compete for his approval, because men competing for one person's favor stop watching that person and start watching each other instead. It's the entire engine behind every season of Succession. Siblings fighting each other for one father's attention instead of ever comparing notes between themselves. Ethan spent 2 years as the favorite at his firm. His manager singled him out in meetings, gave him the good accounts, told him privately he was built differently than the rest of the team. Ethan started arriving earlier, staying later, quietly resenting a co-worker named Arthur, who used to be his closest friend at the company. He never noticed his manager had said something almost identical to Arthur 18 months earlier, right before he stopped getting the good accounts. Ethan found out from Arthur himself on the day he quit. Watch who suddenly becomes your rival right after someone gets unusually generous with you. That rivalry did not appear on its own. The third gift is the fix that replaces you. A friend rewrites your resume instead of showing you what was wrong with it. A partner handles every uncomfortable phone call so you never learn to make one yourself. Each of these looks like love, and sometimes it is. But every time someone fixes a problem you were capable of learning to fix, a small piece of your independence changes hands. You won't notice the transfer because it feels like being cared for. You notice it years later, when the person is gone, and you still don't know how to do the thing they always did for you. The test is simple. When someone offers to fix something for you, ask whether they'd teach you instead. Someone who actually wants you capable says yes without flinching. Someone who wants you dependent insists it's just easier if they handle it. For the next 30 days, take back one recurring task somebody else has quietly absorbed for you, even if you do it worse than they would. Competence you rebuild yourself cannot be repossessed later. The fourth gift finds you exactly when you cannot refuse it. It shows up during a divorce, a bankruptcy, a diagnosis, a firing. somebody appears with money, shelter, or connections at the precise moment you have no leverage to negotiate anything. You are not wrong to accept real help during a real crisis. Refusing every hand out of pride is its own kind of foolishness. But remember the moment clearly, because the giver will. Years later, when you finally set a boundary they don't like, they won't argue the boundary itself. They'll reach backward into the worst week of your life and use it the way a collector uses an old invoice. Keep a private, honest account of what someone actually did for you in a hard season. Not to repay it like a transaction, but so nobody can inflate the story past what really happened once they need you to feel small again. If one of these four already has its hand somewhere in your life, you already know which one it is. Type the number below before you keep watching. It's worth seeing how many other men recognize it too. The fifth gift hands you someone else's armor and calls it protection. This is one of the oldest traps on record. Before David faced Goliath, King Saul dressed him in his own royal armor, certain it would give the boy a real chance against a giant. David put it on, took a few steps, and immediately took it back off. It didn't move the way he moved, and fighting a giant in another man's equipment would have gotten him killed before he ever closed the distance. He walked out instead, with the sling he'd actually trained with, and won. Machiavelli later drew on this exact account to make his point. Other people's arms are either too loose, too heavy, or too tight. Someone hands you their business plan, their exact dating approach, their entire morning routine, and insists it's the gift that will fix your life. Sometimes it helps. More often it was built for their build, not yours, and you spend months failing at something that was never yours to begin with. Before you adopt anyone's system wholesale, ask what in it actually matches how you already operate and leave the rest of it on the table. The sixth gift is access that only one person controls. A single mentor becomes your only route to clients. A single friend becomes your only entry into a world you want to belong to. This looks like generosity because technically they're sharing something valuable with you. What it actually does is make your entire position dependent on one person's continued goodwill. Cesare Borgia learned this the hard way. His power across central Italy was real, but it was never fully his own. It existed because his father, Pope Alexander VI, held the office that protected it. When Alexander died and Borgia himself fell seriously ill in the same season, the empire he'd spent years building collapsed within months, not because Borgia had gone soft, but because the ground it stood on had always belonged to somebody else. I've sat across from men who built entire careers on one boss's approval and watched all of it evaporate in a single afternoon once that boss got walked out by security. Any access you didn't build yourself can be taken from you by someone else's decision, illness, or death. If one person is your only path to money, status, or belonging, start quietly building a second path this month, even a small one, before you ever need it. A simple rule covers most of this territory. Never let a single person become the only reason something in your life still works. The seventh gift is the smallest one and the hardest to notice because it never arrives in a box. It arrives in a sentence. You're the strong one. You're the one who never lets anyone down. You're not like the others. You actually get it. It feels like being understood. It's actually being cast. Once you accept the label, you start performing it even in the moments you aren't strong, when you do want to let someone down, when you no longer agree. Admitting the truth now feels like breaking a promise you don't remember making. This is how a man ends up carrying an entire family's problems alone for a decade, still telling himself he's simply the reliable one, never noticing that one compliment quietly wrote a job description he never agreed to sign. When someone hands you an identity instead of a compliment, ask yourself one honest question in private. Would you still say this about yourself if nobody had ever said it to you first? None of this means you should stop accepting kindness. A man who suspects every gift eventually becomes a man nobody can reach, and that's its own kind of prison. The difference between a real gift and a trap was never in the object anyway. It was always in what happens after you say no to the terms attached to it. Offer to repay the debt with no number. Ask to be taught instead of fixed. Decline the label politely and watch the reaction. Someone who respects you lets the moment pass without punishment. Someone who was never really giving to begin with shows you exactly what the price was the instant you stop paying it in silence. Somewhere between Saul's armor and Borgia's collapse, Machiavelli understood something most people still refuse to accept. The world isn't divided into generous people and selfish people. It's divided into people who let you leave and people who don't. That's the only question worth asking before your hand closes around anything offered to you. Not what does this cost? Who do I become if I keep it? Ask that question early enough, and most traps announce themselves before they ever get the chance to close. Thank you for being here, truly. But here's the hard truth. YouTube is silencing voices that don't fit the mold. And my voice, it's next. They're suppressing the real, the raw, the unfiltered, because it scares them. So if you want more, if you need more, then come find me on Patreon. That's where we fight back. That's where we break the algorithm together. Also hit like, subscribe, and ring that bell. Not for me, but so we stay connected before they bury this channel for good. I'm not going quiet, but I can't do it without you. I'll see you on the other side.